Good day and welcome to you. We're coming to you live from the Innovate for Climate conference here in Frankfurt in Germany. This is the first day of exciting discussions around ramping up climate finance, accelerating investments, finding the business opportunity in climate action, and really using the technology and the transformative policies that are at our disposal to transition to this low-carbon, resilient future. So it's my great pleasure to have Minister Tarek Al-Wazir with me today. Tarek is the Hessian Minister for Economics, Energy, Transport and Regional Development, and you're also responsible for the Green Finance Cluster, which is a very exciting space, as we just heard in your keynote address upstairs. Thank you for joining us. Maybe just to get us going, we're here in Frankfurt, and green finance is exceptionally important. You are, in many ways, showing a leading example of how one can use green finance to help transition to a low-carbon future. Maybe could you just explain what is the experience here in Frankfurt? What are you doing in Hessen on green finance? And what excites you about that?
Well, first of all, let's talk about the problems that we have, the challenges that we have. We have to change something. We're using too much resources, and if we continue on a global level, and even in the developed countries like Germany, if we continue to live as we are used to, it can't go on like this, and it at the end will lead to a world where our children cannot and grandchildren cannot live anymore. So we have to do something. Secondly is what are we doing here? There's so much money around us. We're living here in Frankfurt, and of course many people are working here in the financial sector. We are the most important financial marketplace in continental Europe. We have all these foreign and domestic banks. We have the European Central Bank here, and so on. So there's much money around here, and people are looking for places to invest this money and to earn more money, even more money. And the question is, what could we do in somehow bringing this money into the right direction? That's what we have to do. This is why we're talking about green finance and why we founded the Green Finance Cluster. Because I'm sure that all these investments that are needed to change our energy sector to renewables, for example, to build the buildings who are energy efficient, like the one we are in now. This will not work by public funding alone. We need private capital, private money, and we have to somehow do something about it to get this private money and to somehow lead it into the right direction.
So, you really highlighted the urgency for climate action, that we're already feeling the impacts, and if we don't do more now, if we don't accelerate our investments, our financial support to climate action, we will not be able to transition to that low-carbon future. So maybe from the German experience, what has, you already highlighted the Energiewende upstairs. What has the German experience been, and where do you think you are now, and what still has to happen in the next couple of years?
Well, we started our energy transition in Germany 18 years ago. In the year 2000, we had a percentage of 5% of our electricity produced by renewable energies. Germany had lots of nuclear power plants. Germany was dependent on coal. And we started to change this, and last year we reached 36%. That's, if you think about the 5% we started with and the 36% we reached last year, you see that this was really a successful thing. And of course, it only worked because people invested their private money in that. And we somehow gave them the possibility to get money back, investing it at once, getting it back over a period of 20 years. And this is how we started our energy transition. And of course, we're not only thinking about electricity. The next steps, of course, is cooling and heating. In Germany, more heating than cooling, but there are other places in the world where it's opposite. And also this won't work if people won't invest their private money and think that this is also a possibility to earn money. Because if I look into the United States and the policy, for example, of the elected president of the United States, he always says that somehow, first of all, he neglects that something like climate change exists, but well, that's another story. But he always thinks that investing in the new thing will somehow make people jobless, or make somehow, if you look at what he thinks about the coal industry, steel, and so on. And I think the German example shows that the country can become more wealthy because it's becoming more modern and has, at the end, the products that the world needs in the next decade. So at the end, it's not only an ecological thing, it's also an economical chance for this country in the last 17 years. And of course, we hope that other countries look at this example and see that this is the future.
And that's very much what this conference is about, innovation for climate action. So innovation on the financial side, how to make those market opportunities for private investments and for business action, and also how to frame that policy to really allow for the scale-up. You highlighted that there has been exponential growth in renewables in Germany, and you're taking that policy forward into the building sector, probably also transport, and those are really the leading examples of how to build this new future. So maybe, what's your message for young people? You already said that this is a great job opportunity. This is where you're going to find your future employment. But how do you want to get them involved in this new sector, get them involved in the new climate economy?
Well, first of all, I think that young people have to take action because the younger you are, the longer you're staying on this world. And I think that it's also, a chance for young people to see that you can really make a change, that you can really reach a goal, and that you don't have to think that those big things like big industry and so on is somehow stronger and big money is working and so on, and you don't and that you're not able to change anything. So at the end, I'm a member of the Green Party. We started this Energiewende in Germany when we entered the federal government in 1998, and at the end, it was a plan of a few people who said, okay, you have all these big energy companies and who are really at the beginning tried to stop all this because it somehow was dangerous for their business model. But at the end, we were successful. And those companies now either changed in getting involved in renewable energies themselves, or they just disappeared. And that shows that few people can really reach something if they are, courageous and have a goal and stay, focused on this goal, and then you can make the world go round.
And that's really the message for the next few days, is that we are in this midst of a transition. This is going to go down in history as a time when we shifted our greenhouse gas emissions and went onto a new growth curve. So what is the role of innovation in achieving this accelerated deployment of climate action? And what's your message for the conference attendees here, who are amongst the leaders in technology, finance, and policy in driving this great transition?
Well, I'm sure that, first of all, the so-called developed countries have to somehow take a lead in that. Because, of course, if you look at 1.4 billion people in China or more than 1 billion people in India, of course, and you look at 80 million Germans, of course, the Germans sometimes say, or some people here say, well, what do all our achievements at the end is worth on a global level? But it's still true that the average German somehow consumes 10 tons of carbon dioxide every year, and the average person in India just produces 1. So if we don't change the way we somehow our economy is organized, our energy is produced, and so on, how could we tell other people that are really needed, if you look at the global future, that we don't want them to be like us? And that's why we somehow really, the developed countries have to take the lead. And the second thing is that I really think that, of course, in the developed countries, we somehow see that you won't witness 5, 6, 7% of economic growth per year, like you see, for example, in China, and that we somehow, on one hand, that we reach a level that you see maybe 1 or 2% growth, and that's nothing bad, because if you as a whole society you reach a level like that, you cannot continue economic growth. But I'm sure on a global level we see that people want to develop their countries, and I don't think that we could tell them stop this. I think that we have to develop ways how to combine economic growth on the one hand and ecological behavior on the other hand. And that's what we somehow in Germany showed in the last years. If you look back for the last 15 years, you see that our economic growth was about 30%, and our carbon dioxide emission declined by 25%. So you see that somehow it's possible to have economic development on the one hand, and on the other hand, don't live on the cost of our children and grandchildren.
Absolutely. And we should thank Germany for that. I mean, and the public here in Germany. So, vielleicht auf Deutsch, was ist Ihre Nachricht für das deutsche Volk und für die Stadt Frankfurt hier?
Also, die Deutschen sind sehr, wie soll man das sagen, die sind nicht besonders begeisterungsfähig, sondern es gibt ja den schönen Satz, wenn das Glas halb voll ist, dann ist es in Deutschland halb leer. Wenn der Amerikaner sagt, great, sagt der Deutsche, naja. Und deswegen ist meine Botschaft an dieser Stelle, dass die Deutschen auch sehen sollten, dass sie wirklich was geschaffen haben. Nicht überheblich sein, wir haben noch viel zu tun, sehr viel zu tun, aber mit einer gewissen Zuversicht in die eigenen Fähigkeiten zu sagen, wir kriegen das hin, und wir können auch ein bisschen stolz drauf sein, was wir da geschaffen haben.
So you heard it, we can be proud of what we've done here in Germany. There's still a lot more to do, but we are innovating and we are shifting the finance, we're creating the technology, we're creating the business opportunities and putting in place those transformative policies to build a low-carbon resilient future. And with that, I want to thank you very much, Minister.
Welcome.
Minister Al-Wazir.
Gerne.
Vielen, vielen Dank.
Gerne.